Welcome back to part 2 of the political economy of hierarchy. Last time, we traced how hierarchy moved from cognitive wiring and ideological justification into the continuous control of technofeudal platforms, monetizing not just our work, but our identities and dreams. Well, today, we examine the engines that keep this running without overt coercion. The spectacle that replaces religious devotion, the runaway arms race of social signaling, and the mobile confessional that turns self-management into endless auto-exploitation. Guy Debord called something like this the spectacle. His argument was precise. Just as people once bowed before a god of their own mental creation, a force that seemed to exist independently, above them, demanding devotion, they now bow before the commodity. Something made by human hands that has taken on its own authority, its own gravitational pull. The spectacle is, in Debord's terms, the material reconstruction of the religious illusion, which is why it holds such power. It doesn't feel like ideology. It feels like reality. The metrics feel real. The comparisons feel real. The anxiety about where you stand feels like accurate information about who you are. To see exactly how this illusion dictates behavior, Stephen Butler's research into socio-ecological evolutionary theory provides the mechanics. Social media, he argues, functions as an econish, an environment that selects for specific signals: physical attractiveness, measurable achievement, and visible material success. Young people, in particular, enter this niche and begin signaling along precisely these axes because the environment rewards them for doing so. What makes this consequential is what Butler calls runaway social selection. The criteria don't just rise over time, they accelerate, moving toward increasingly idealized, increasingly unattainable embodiment. The benchmark isn't other people as they actually are. It's a composite image of what people perform themselves to be. And because everyone is performing slightly above their actual position, the floor keeps rising. No one coordinates this. It is simply what the econish selects for. The result is an arms race with no ceiling and no agreed-upon point at which anyone is allowed to stop. But this arms race does not remain strictly external. The demands of the environment eventually become the architecture of the psychology. Byung-Chul Han argues that social media functions as a mobile confessional. Platforms like Facebook or Instagram operate structurally like a church, spaces where the self is continuously examined, presented, and judged. The infinite labor of managing one's public image mirrors the Protestant tradition of searching inward for sin, purging negative thoughts, and struggling against the ego as if against an internal enemy. We have not abandoned Debord's religious illusion. We have relocated it inside the screen and ultimately inside the self. And here, the logic of control takes its most refined form. Under the old model of power, the one our ancestors recognized, power said, "Thou shalt not." There were prohibitions, boundaries, and limits. Power worked through negativity and the threat of punishment. The new model says something different. It says, nothing is impossible. Every constraint is framed as an opportunity. Every failure is just data. Every version of yourself is just a draft. Han calls this excess positivity. It is more efficient than any external coercion because it removes the friction of resistance. You don't rebel against a system that tells you that you can be anything. This shift produces what Han terms auto-exploitation. The achievement subject becomes simultaneously the perpetrator and the victim, the master and the slave. No whip is needed, no overseer is required. The structure has been installed inside the self, and it runs on a mandatory, relentless optimism. I could be doing more. There's still room to be better. In the achievement society, these are not signs of laziness. They are the symptoms of a system working correctly. But there is a biological limit to this logic. When the self can no longer live up to its own idealized image, when the gap between who you are and who you're supposed to be becomes unnavigable, the result isn't a political uprising. It is depression, it is burnout. It is the body's quiet, final refusal to continue the race. One thing I want to be clear about, this is not a conspiracy. There is no villain, no one pulling strings from a room we can't see. We ourselves consume the stories of successful people. We engage with self-help. We scroll. In doing so, we *reproduce the structure daily, incrementally, without being asked. The deep anxiety of not knowing where we stand is enormous productive fuel for this system. Anxious, we consume. Anxious, we accelerate our self-investment. Anxious, we find we cannot step off the track. We've now seen that the anxiety fueling this system isn't orchestrated by hidden villains. It's reproduced by all of us, every time we scroll, compare, and invest in the next version of ourselves. Next time in Part 3, we'll confront whether symbolic capital or other alternative boards offer real escape, and what minimal agency remains when hierarchy refuses to disappear. This is Kaide, out.